believe it's going to take you over there for your actual MRI.
Okay. So, here I go. No.
Your phone number is 561-865?
Sí.
Okay. This is for you. Okay.
So, come over here to the side to have the MRI done. I might have to take off. Here we go. I couldn't video in there doing the MRI, but I'm done now. Okay, so Paul was already out in the parking lot to pick me up, and I just got through doing the MRI. I realized
You're
that
not facing you.
I know I'm facing this way so that they can see other things besides me. I realized that I don't think I've ever had an MRI before because what I did wasn't that noisy. Is it always that noisy and loud?
In the MRI, yes.
I didn't put the things in my ears because I thought, oh, if this is as loud as it gets, I'll be okay. But when they put me up in there, that thing got so loud. The only thing I could think about, the first thing that came to my mind was how people say they got abducted by UFOs and then they be in there and they be getting probed and stuff. Oh my God, I was like, please don't probe me, but it wasn't so bad. It was cold. I had a blanket. I did have a blanket, but it was still kind of cold. But I think I managed to fall asleep. I must have been really tired.
You fell asleep.
Yeah, I fell asleep. Oh, I don't think we can.
You were thinking about
No.
I should have mapped it.
But look at they building that house up there. That's going to be cute.
Yeah, I was trying to map my way out of here. Around where that business is that they want to build on leases. We'll see it.
So I think we need to we got to tell them about when we had the accident.
Okay.
Well, let us figure out how to get home first, and then let us use the GPS first, and then we'll come back.
I see this.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, so this is how it went.
Why are you talking?
So it started on Juneteenth.
Yeah. The actual Juneteenth holiday.
The actual holiday. And so what happened was we were out and we said, okay, let's go ahead and grab some lunch. So we went to the little lunch place, a place that we always eat at, and everything was great, and so we got ready to leave. Well, the place where we ate at is close to Central, and so we know that if you catch a cab close to Central, it will cost more. So I suggested that we walk a little ways and catch a cab that'll be a little cheaper. Now, first, let me say this. Normally, the cabs may be about, the high cabs, expensive cabs, may be about $7. And the less expensive cabs could be about $4, And so, it was only a difference of $2 or $3, to be honest. But to me, it was the principle. So I said, well, let's walk down a little bit further and catch a cab that'll be a little cheaper. And so Paul said, being that we had just got done eating, our bellies was full, and we did have some take-home food with us. So Paul said, baby, let's just go ahead and get this cab right here. It's right here. We don't have to walk anywhere. Let's just get this cab and head to the house. And so I said, okay, if you want to, but there's only a couple of blocks more. Anyway, we walked up to the cab, asked how much it was. Of course, it was $2 or $3 over. And I said something. So then the cab driver went down $1. And then we went ahead and got in. Well, I got in first, and I had on a little sundress. So, when I got in the cab, and when you have on a dress, you kind of sit down and then you kind of scoot over. And so slide over to let Paul in. So that's what I was doing. And so I was not looking at where we were going or exactly what we was doing and all of that. I was trying to focus on, getting in the car and getting myself together.
And the car took off fast down the street immediately, as soon as we got in.
Okay, and so when we got in the car, when we got in the cab took off. Well, I still wasn't paying any attention to, I hadn't looked up yet. So I guess at that time I was probably trying to get my stuff together, like down in your seat, trying to, get my things together like that or whatever. And all I heard was Paul say, hey, hey, hey. And he never really raises his voice. So when he said, hey, 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 I kind of look up. And when I look up, all I see.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, so we got in the cab, and I think I was still situated like this, trying to, get my things together in my lap, which is my purse because I keep a crossbody, and just get in the food and stuff, and so then I heard Paul say, hey, 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 and so when he said, hey, 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 I automatically, and you know what? I'm glad we're sitting like this because this is the way. Pretend we're in the cab.
This is how we were sitting.
Yeah, this is how we were sitting in the cab. And so we're sitting in the back seat. This is the door that was open, and I got in and scooched over like this, and then Paul got in. So I'm sitting behind the cab driver. So I'm doing this. Paul goes, hey, hey, hey.
Yeah, because he took off. As soon as he found out where we were going, he took off down the street like a bolt of lightning. And we got maybe 1 or 2 blocks. I mean, the blocks aren't that long. So I'm talking about
one block.
Blocks where the streets cross, where there's a possibility of a car crossing. Well, by about the 3rd one, there was a car crossing, and the car did not stop. And so he didn't stop in the median. He kept on going, and he ended up right in our lane. And so I don't think our cab driver saw what he was, what was happening, because he was picking up speed instead of slowing down. And so I was like, hey, hey, hey. By the 3rd hey, we smashed into the other car. And Sean went flying.
Cause I see Paul had a chance to brace himself because he was looking up and saw what was happening. Now me, on the other hand, I'm looking down, being situated. I heard Paul say, hey, hey, hey. And by the time I looked up like this. As soon as I looked up, I saw the cab driver coming back on me like this. Now keep in mind, I still have not seen Paul yet. Because when I looked up, that's what I saw. I saw him like this, and then I saw me like this, going forward. And then all I saw after that was the cab driver. Now I'm still in the back, and I still have not seen Paul yet. So all I saw was the cab driver. Now he's only about this tall. So I saw the cab driver look back at us like this. He turned, he said, and then he jumped out the car and got on the back of a motorcycle and sped away. Now,
That's what
I know you're asking, where did the motorcycle come from? I wish I had that answer for you. I don't know, because all I saw was the motorcycle, and the guy on the motorcycle was about this tall too, because when he stopped, I didn't see him pull up. I just saw a motorcycle with a short person on it, and I say he's short because I saw the foot was barely touching the floor. The foot was barely touching the ground, and I saw our taxi driver, I saw him get out, and I saw him get on the back of the motorcycle, and I saw them go away. That's what I saw.
Yeah, it was like a movie, you know.
They just burnt out. They burnt out. And so I'm there and I'm like this, and I have never had a sprain or a break in a bone or anything like that. And so I'm back there thinking I'm dying. Now I believe, I know I did this with this hand, with my right hand, because I heard my hand just crack like a couple of times. I heard it say like that, and so, but it was still attached. And then I saw, keep in mind, I still have not seen Paul yet. All of this happened so fast. And so all I remember then was the bottom of the back of the cab. I think I was on the floor,
You're
or I
right.
was, now I don't know how I get on the floor in the bottom of the cab.
Well, for one thing, everything happened so fast, we never had a chance to put seatbelts on or anything. Now, a lot of these cabs, you can't find the seatbelts. And so we don't necessarily have a habit of putting them on unless we're going long distance or whatever.
We don't necessarily have a habit of putting on the seatbelts in the
cab.
seat.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And so we got in the cab took off very quickly. And within a block or so, we were in an accident. And like I said, I saw it happening. The cab driver never saw it happening because he was accelerating instead of decelerating. And I had a chance to brace because I was, I'm leaning up. By the time I got to the third yo, I was in the cab driver's ear. Yo, like about to point at the car coming, but it's too late. We smashed the car. So I got my hands like this on the back of both seats. And I braced myself like this. But Sean, she didn't even know what was happening. She just put her arm up, and next thing you know, she's down in the bottom, at my feet, basically. She's down, crunched down behind the driver's seat. And just like she said, the cab driver looks back at us, and then he jumped out the car, and there happened to be a guy on a motorbike. It was like a dirt bike. So like she said, the guy looked short because the bike was tall. It was a dirt bike. And so he happened to pull up or whatever, we didn't know what happened. But when he pulled up, the cab driver said something to him, jumped on the back of the bike, and they took off. And so I'm like, they just left us, baby. We got to get out this cab. I didn't know if the cab was about to catch on fire, what was going on with the cab.
I didn't
All
hear
knew-
Paul saying any of that because I'm traumatized because I've never had nothing broke or hurt like that. I mean, that was like, I don't know. And so I'm traumatized, so I don't know what Paul is saying. All I remember seeing was Paul, when I did see Paul, he was standing up with his hands out like this.
Trying to get you out of the
And
cab.
it was a bright light. I thought I had died. All I saw was him, because it was so sunny out. And
Yeah.
it was just bright, like glowing all around. And I saw him like this saying, come on, baby, come on, baby.
That's because
come
you
on,
were
baby.
down in the bottom.
I didn't know where I was at.
And looking
I
up,
was in so
and it
much
was
pain.
bright outside.
I was in so much pain. I
Yes.
did not know what
Yeah,
was.
you
I
were-
kept saying, what's happening?
Yeah,
What
you kept saying-
happened?
And then you said, oh, my hand. And I was like, we got to get out this cab. Because the cab driver got out. I didn't know what happened. Now,
Did
I've
I
heard.
get out with you right away when you were saying get out?
No, it
Come
took
on.
you a while to get your bearing together.
Cause I wasn't finna come into the light. Cause I didn't know. I needed some explanations before I decided to cross over. Now let me know
So-
what happened first.
And I didn't know, I've been places, overseas, you go to Korea or whatever, And I've heard that if you get in a taxi accident in certain places, they make the passenger responsible. Because they say, well, the taxi wouldn't have been in that area if it was not for the passenger. And so when the taxi driver jumped out the cab and took off, I was like, we got to get out of this cab and take off. And so we got her out of the cab, and she was complaining about her hand. And
It was turning black.
yeah, her hand.
It was
yeah,
turning
her
black, right in
hand
front of
was
my face.
swelling up right in front of her, and she had never felt any kind of pain like that. Well, I can tell. People were saying that we should wait for an ambulance. Some people said that we should go straight to the hospital.
Yeah, so people were standing all around, you know, and then with the accident, people came over to see if we were okay. And thank goodness that they did. And you know, the majority of the people out there didn't speak English, and we didn't speak Spanish. And so, but there happened to be this one lady, and I forgot her name, but her number is in my phone. And every time we have something, I invite her. And we've been corresponding ever since the accident. She was a really nice lady, and she looked at my hand, and she spoke some very little English, but she could understand me, and she was able to talk to the other people and relay the message just like that. And so she was like, oh, she had a case of Coors Light.
Some kind of beer.
Some kind of light beer she had in her arm. She's like, I just walked to the store to get another case of beer, and all of this happened. And she asked me, did I want a beer? And I was like, no. And then, but she lived maybe not even a block.
Yeah, right.
Not even a block away from where the accident was at. And I was holding my hand like this. And so she told me to come go to her house, and she'll
Give you some ice or whatever.
yeah. And you know, you don't go with strangers.
She went with that lady.
Well, because I was about to die. I would die like this, or either die by her. I felt like I had a better chance of surviving her wrath. She was a case of Coors Light in.
Right.
And so I went down there, and Paul stayed up there where the accident happened at. And
Yeah, because they said that the taxi supervisor showed up very quickly and explained to us that there was going to be an insurance adjuster coming, and that they were going to take us to the hospital if we needed to. And so all that happened. It took a minute, but I waited outside while she went to the house and got some ice.
so I was sitting at the lady house with a bag of ice on my hand, and then she bandaged it up, or she did
And
something.
she gave you some kind
She
of
did,
wrap.
yeah, she did something to it, and it made it feel a little bit better. Maybe the ice that was holding it, but it was throbbing on the inside. So, we stayed there for maybe about 15 minutes or so, and then we walked back down to where Paul was at and where the accident happened at. And by this time, it was some more cab drivers out there and stuff. Okay, so did the police ever show up? Well, let me tell you what my answer. I never saw the police. Remember, the accident happened. I stood there for maybe about 3 minutes or so. You know, do. Lady with the Coors Light was there. Then I walked down to her place. Paul stayed there. So, Paul, did you see the police at any time?
I did see at least 2 different police cars pass us by, look at us, and keep on going. But then it was explained to me that the police don't do the reports on those type of accidents. The insurance adjusters do the reports.
When was that explained to you?
While I was standing there.
Oh.
And so they said that,
It was explained to me just now.
oh, well, yeah, they said that the insurance adjuster was coming and he would take care of everything. And so, yeah, I saw at least 1, if not 2 cops pass us by. But eventually, there was an insurance adjuster that showed up. He took pictures, he asked questions. Oh, and then I found out that when the cab driver jumped out the cab and started talking to the guy on a motorcycle and took off, it wasn't that he was leaving us. It was that they were chasing down the person that hit us or that caused the accident because it was a hit and run. What we didn't realize is that when the car, they said it was a Jetta. When the Jetta hit us, it took off.
It never stopped.
Right.
It hit us and just kept
It
going.
hit us and then it took off down the road. And so the taxi driver jumped out, saw a passing guy on a motorcycle who stopped to ask if we were okay. He asked him to chase the guy down, and so that's what they did. They went to try to chase the guy down. They could not find him, and so the taxi driver ended up standing next to me when I was talking to the taxi supervisor about the situation.
Okay, but at that time, when all of this was going on, we didn't know nothing.
Yeah, we didn't
We
know.
thought the taxi driver jumped out the cab,
And
got
took-
on the back of the motorbike, and rode out.
Matter of fact, I didn't even recognize the taxi driver when I was standing next to him talking to the supervisor. And I said, hey, my taxi driver jumped out the car, got on the bike, and he took off. I don't know where he at. And he said, he's right here. And I'm like, oh yeah, it is you.
Yeah. And so to sum all of this up, what happened was this: the taxi drivers, and I think they in cliques of some sort. They got together
They
and
formed a posse.
they formed a posse and went out. They rolled out on them.
Yeah,
They looking
our-
for them. They blocked.
Our
they was
taxi
blocking.
driver called them, called his supervisor or called the other cabs or whatever,
Called his people.
and jumped on the back of that bike. And apparently there was a posse hunt for this white Jetta that they never found. At least they didn't find it that day. And so that's what happened with that.
Yeah.
They ended up putting us in a taxi. The supervisor actually
Y'all know I ain't want to get back in another
put
taxi.
us in another taxi.
And let me just say this right here. Remember when Paul said that it's not really a habit of ours to put our seatbelts on in a taxi? Well, let me just say, it really wasn't a habit of mine to wear a seatbelt per se, but ever since that accident,
She wears a seatbelt now.
I locks it in.
Click, click,
I locks it in.
click, click.
Because I went over and
Yeah, it could-
beyond,
it could have
and
been
then
pretty
I
bad.
went down under, and I thought I saw a bright light with a hand reaching out. It was traumatic for me,
Yeah.
and my finger is still not the same. It's still not the same.
We got in a taxi with the taxi supervisor, and he took us to the hospital of our choice, and we chose the one right around the corner, which is very big hospital. Supposed to be the best walking distance. We spent quite a while at the emergency room. They checked out her hand and basically gave you a hand brace and some medicine. They x-rayed it
And I'm dying. I ain't never had no kind of sprain or hurt
we ended
before.
up seeing an orthopedic specialist who said that her hand would be better after a while.
That was in June,
That was June, and so we
And
went
it's
back
November.
recently, and
last week.
they MRI'd it for her today.
Hmm.
She was actually supposed to wear a splint all week to immobilize the thumb.
Okay, so last week when we went back to get it checked on, because see, it's still hurting. They gave me this to wear. This. And it's supposed to hold it in place. So the doctor says to me, before he gives me this, he asked me, does it still hurt? And I said, yeah. He said, that's because he was talking about referencing texting. I said, no. I was for 40 some years. This just happened. This just hurt in June. This hurt in June. And I don't even text like I text like this.
Yeah.
So when I first got there, when we first went to the thing that night, they gave me a flexible thing to put on, a flexible. But then 6 months later, you want to give me something talking about keep it still. The damage, I'm sure, has already been done. If I was supposed to keep it still, why didn't you give me that the first time instead of giving me something flexible to, where I can move it? But now 6 months later, you're talking about keep it still.
She wore that thing from the hospital and back to the hospital today, and ain't worn it since.
No.
But when we were at the hospital the first time, emergency room, they asked me if I had any problems. I told them that my shoulders hurt from bracing myself, especially my left shoulder. Now, I've had diagnosed shoulder issues, but I did complain to them, and so they x-rayed my shoulder, and then they MRI'd my shoulder, and they says, oh, you need surgery on your shoulder. But we don't have a surgeon just yet. We're going to have to call one in from another state like Mexico City. And so while they were supposed to be calling in a surgeon to look, to do rotator cuff surgery on my shoulder, we had already scheduled for us to go home so I could have my own surgery because I already knew I needed it in the first before we left, I contacted the hospital and I told them I'm going home for surgery, but my wife, her hand still hurts, and y'all haven't done much about it, and they didn't do anything more at the time. They responded, they said they'd get back to us, we never heard anything. Now, when we came back, 8 weeks after my surgery, I contacted them, I says, hey, I had to go have surgery on my own back in Florida, but I still need physical therapy and medication. They made an appointment for me to come in. I said my wife did not have any surgery, but she still has pain. So they made her an appointment to see the orthopedic surgeon. And we both went in to see him. And so now we have physical therapy sessions scheduled, me for the shoulder, her for her thumb, and she got her thumb MRI today.
I'm gonna go to the physical therapy thumb thing. No, that's a lot of T's.
Thumb thing. Therapy
Yeah.
thumb thing.
Thumb thing, physical therapy thumb thing. I'm going to the physical therapy thumb thing, but what are they gonna have me do? This, like he told me not to do on the one I'm texting, but we'll see.
Yeah. I
So-
know. They probably give you do some massaging, some stretching. They're gonna probably give you some kind of exercise for it.
Yeah. So all in all, I'm going to tell you this. See, they don't say all of this on the blogs and in videos and stuff. I strongly believe that if Paul had not had surgery in the States, they was just gonna,
Blow us off.
Yeah,
They were
so
done with us.
what they do, I'm coming to realize that what they do when they don't have the answer that you want, because they know the answer you want. What they do when they can't deliver or can't do something, or they just,
They stop communicating.
yeah, they just stop communicating. They don't tell you
They
no.
just disappear.
They just stop communicating.
Go ghost on you.
Yeah, they just, it just, and it's just like, oh, maybe they'll forget,
Oh,
like,
it's just like when we inquired, well, is there anybody we can sue? Is there any action that we can take? I mean, they did say, look, being that it's a hit and run, the taxi company, their insurance took us to the hospital and they said they will cover all of our bills. And we're like, well, thank you for that. But is there anybody that we can sue? How can we sue for pain and suffering or whatever it is that you would normally do if you were in America? I asked around, people says, oh, it's gonna be hard to sue in Mexico. I started making phone calls and email inquiries and Facebook inquiries to the very few lawyers that I could find here. And at first I was getting 0 response. Until about the 5th time I contacted this one person through Facebook, Instagram, email, and phone call. And then they finally replied to me, and they said that basically best we could hope for was for our medical bills to be covered. And if we had any medical bills that were not covered, then we can keep track of all of that and we get sued. And if we got a day in court, then we may get reimbursed for other expenses, but that's basically it. And so they said that we should consider ourselves lucky that the insurance company for the taxi company is taking care of our bill. Otherwise, we just have to foot it on our own. That's just the Mexican way.
so, I hope this answers some of y'all questions. Cause yeah, that's how that's going.
But we in there now. We about to have some physical therapy on the taxi company.
So if I text some of y'all, just know that's therapeutic for my thumb.
Yeah.
So we hope that answers some of the questions. If y'all have any other questions about what's going on and stuff like that, just ask.
Other than that, we're here. It's a beautiful day. Well, it was until it started raining.
But I gotta tell you, this December weather, oh, it's not even December yet.
It's November, but it's
Ever
still
since
nice.
we've been back, the weather has been perfect. We hardly even have to turn on our AC.
Yeah, it's nice and cool. Now, when we came here last year in October, it was hot. Even with the hurricanes, it was hot. And then, when we moved here in December 1st, it was hot. Compared to Florida, it was hot.
It was hot.
And it stayed hot.
It
It cooled down a couple of days, but it stayed hot. But they say this is the normal winter. And so hopefully next year and the year after that, it'll be like this. And not like it was last year.
No, because I'm gonna have to go someplace else for the summer and just come here in the winter. Because this, I be
Oh yeah, it's hot here. in the
we
summer.
spending the summer in hell,
Yeah, we might have to vacation.
Mexico City.
Oh yeah, it's cold in Mexico City.
We get to wear boots.
That's the mountains.
Yeah.
But that's another story.
So, anyways, that's what's going on. That's what happened. My hand is fine. It does hurt down in here, and I can still tell it's still not the same as this one.
Yeah, her joints a little swollen. You can tell. And I feel so sorry for my baby.
Cause all he had to do
Unlike
was
me.
walk 1 or 2 more blocks.
Unlike
could've
me,
walked
she's
1 or
never
2
felt the pain.
Walk 1 or 2 more blocks. Could have saved
It
this.
wasn't 1 or 2 blocks. It was 30 blocks.
No. We didn't
were
have to
on-
walk
we
no
were-
30 blocks.
well,
It ain't 30
Okay,
blocks
30,
from there to the
30
house.
the numbers of the streets, it would have been 30. But you're right. It's only every 5. They're numbered by 5.
So that's about 4 or 5 blocks.
And so
He got 2 brand new knees. He could have walked 4 or 5 blocks. So if he would have just listened to me, and then on top of that, the food that we had, splash beans, fish all over them. Didn't even get that. I was hungry later on that night.
It was
Yes, it was.
It was guacamole
Yep.
and fish or empanadas or something. Yeah, I didn't even realize it. I had to stand outside 10 or 15 minutes and I looked down and I got guacamole all over my pants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got a car after that,
Yeah.
and he got a big truck
yeah.
thing.
I got a
SUV type thing. Cause
it's a 2006 Touareg, so I bought a used vehicle, but it's
These
something
roads.
big. It's a big tank, and so we gonna hit somebody before they hit us.
oh, that's mean.
No, I know. I don't mean to say it like that.
I mean, but
Pray that we don't hit anyone.
exactly.
But-
But
If it's you or me, gonna be
see
you.
you. Okay, so that's
We
what
might-
we got. And, no, that's for real. That's real. That is real. And I fasten my seatbelt all the time.
I pray we
You got
don't
to
hit
tell me
anybody.
once. Yes. In Jesus' name.
We done already hit a dog.
Paul hit a dog
I didn't see a dog.
just about a week
I
ago.
never saw a dog.
About a
so
week ago,
you can't prove
he
to me
was-
that I hit a dog,
Well,
but I did hear a dog.
I saw you, but I ain't gonna tell
I
nobody
did hear
else.
the dog yelp.
But about a week and a half ago, we were looking for this place, and we couldn't find it. We was kind of lost. So Paul pulled over to the side of the road. He pulled over on the side like you're supposed to do. His foot was still on the brake, so the car was still in drive, but his foot was still on the brake. Now, when we pulled up, we pulled straight up. I'm looking this time. I'm looking. I didn't see anything. No person, no animal, no nothing.
Nothing.
So we pulled up and we was there for maybe about 30 seconds. 30 seconds, 35 seconds or so. And I said, well, what we looking for is something. So anyway, we talked about it for maybe 10 more seconds. So then he was like, oh, baby, I can't find it. So he didn't hit the gas. He just lifted his foot off the brake. And when he lifted his foot off the brake, so we didn't immediately just zoom off. He lifted his foot off the brake and we just rolled a little bit. Well, when we rolled a little bit, I felt a bump, like we
Yeah.
ran over a bump.
You can definitely feel a bump.
Yeah, I felt the bump, but it wasn't a big bump. I just felt the bump. I thought it was a pothole, because it's a lot of potholes around here. So I thought it was a pothole. And then,
We heard a yelp.
like, I gotta stop doing these sounds. And I saw the dog get up and limp away. And then I saw people starting to come outside. And then I saw a little boy come outside to check on his dog. And I said, you better burn out. Cause But the dog was okay. He got up and he walked away. We never saw a dog. So
I never saw a dog.
No,
I did
the
hear
dog couldn't have been there when we pulled up. Because if the dog was there when we pulled into that spot, why didn't he get up and move? He couldn't have been there. So we was only there for about 30 seconds. And it's not that cool outside to where the dog was that hot that he came over there to seek a little shade.
Yeah.
So he had to just come over there, and I don't know.
Justin came over to check out the car. It was a little too close.
Yeah, and so we ain't been back since, but the dog was okay, and so that's it. That's our life. But all's what it is. Well, everybody's okay. Everybody lives to see another day. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Hope Thanksgiving went well for everybody.